Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the most fabulous night of the year. It is, of course, the Talking Pictures Oscar special. I am your host, David, and join with me, as always, my co-host, Brian Rogers, here for this special night where we will discuss the Oscars, the nominations, the actresses, the actors, the best pictures, the directors, everything and everything in between. Anything and everything in between, even. We will just be discussing what's nominated, what we think is going to be the winners, who's going to be taking home that golden trophy. But before we get into any of that, we will join our correspondent Brian as he discusses the trailer of the week. Brian, how are you today? And give us a trailer. I know what you're going to pick, and this is one you've been waiting a long time for. Dave, so I'm finally glad that you got it.
Dave, I think you're going to have to help me on this one. I need you to back me up in the history, the very prolonged history of the trailer of this week. You know, David, I think given the topic of today's episode and that of the Oscars, the timing is just near perfect, maybe even better, that the trailer for Borderlands was released.
This is a trailer. This is a movie that you've been waiting years for. Like almost the entire time I know you, it seems like. Even before the movie was announced, it feels like you've been looking forward to this movie. And finally, after it was supposed to initially, I think, release last year. There was nothing.
It never had a release date until you told me August 9th, 2024.
Okay.
And that was a year to go upon learning it.
Okay, last August, yeah.
More or less, yeah. Even a bit more than a year. David, I think as far as maybe 2020, I've been talking to you about Borderlands. I've been talking to you about why I'm excited, the actors who've been cast in the movie and the characters they're playing, everything. I am looking forward to this video game adaptation because it is right up in my alley. Because, you know, everyone has their taste in movies. People like a courtroom drama. People like just a generic action movie. People like musicals. People like rom-coms. I'm a little bit more specific. I like a good ragtag ensemble band of misfits. Suicide Squad. Guardians of the Galaxy. Rogue One.
Yeah.
That's just a few examples. Hey, the upcoming Ministry of Ungentlemainly Warfare. You know, you can use Inglourious Bastards as another example in lieu with this category. So Borderlands is directed by Eli Roth, and Eli Roth directed Thanksgiving, and that movie came out before that. And an actress, Gina Gershon, is in Thanksgiving, and I paid a little bit extra attention to her in that movie. She's just in the start of it because she's also in Borderlands playing a character who I know the name of. I know all the actors mostly in the Borderlands movie. I know all the characters they're playing because it's just right up my alley. Borderlands is a sci-fi adventure, bloody, R-rated, epic. To me, it's an epic because it can be an epic of vault hunters hunting a vault to seek what's inside it, whether it's treasure or whether it's a portal to something else. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest, David, I never played the Borderlands games.
That's the funniest thing about all of this, is that you're so excited for a movie and you have not experienced where it comes from, the video game.
I've not even fully watched the walkthrough campaigns because I don't think there actually is one, because it's the type of game where
it's a looter shooter.
Yes, you are given a few cutscenes and you're introduced to 4 playable characters and you get to pick which one. But when you're playing these characters, I don't think you see the other characters who are with you.
I think you do.
But you do?
Yeah, I think
well, they do appear and a cutscene comes up.
Okay.
And there are so many different characters that are playable. It's an average 4 per game. So there's like 4 Borderlands games now. And then there's a load of different side characters. I just like the pure diversity of all these characters. And I was so excited to see what characters they were going to cast in the movie. Kate Blanchett. She worked with Eli Roth in The House with a Clock on Its Walls. She's playing Lilith. Kevin Hart was cast as Roland.
Yeah, which is against the kind of character. I've not played them either, but
Why?
I know it's a kind of against character.
Because he's short? Because he's not Trevante Rhodes or 50 Cent? And then they cast Jamie Lee Curtis, another Academy Award winner in that of Thanos. And then they got Jack Black, who also worked with Eli Roth in House of Clockens for Alls to voice Claptrap. Ariana Greenblatt, who's quite successful child actor, playing Tiny Tina.
Yeah, she's rose to fame with she was in Ahsoka and she was in Barbie.
She's in a few other things as well that I'm just not going to mention for the sake of time because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I do know who she is. And Florian Matoney, he played Drago, the son, in Creed 2. Mm-hmm. He was also Razor Fist in Shang-Chi. Mm-hmm. And he was cast to play this rhetorically challenged muscle maniac.
The Psycho.
Yes.
Yeah.
He, in the games, he talks to himself in his head like a normal, well-spoken man. Mm-hmm. But he can't vocabularize that out. If he's trying to say one thing, it will come out completely different. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think this movie will have the fortunate quality of having that elevated aspect in that character. I think it's just going to go as far as him being capable of being a psycho killer maniac. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. I'm not looking for quality. I'm looking for a good time and a sequel. And
you don't want this to be the only one.
I need this movie to succeed. And Edgar Ramirez is playing the villain, of course, and it has a whole load of other characters. I'm just looking forward to seeing this movie. I know I'm going on for a bit longer for this trailer of the week, but David, I've been waiting for 3 years for this. Mm-hmm. I've been waiting for Borderlands. It was like an unhealthy, toxic relationship where I searched on Dr. Google Borderlands news. Nothing.
I just want any piece of
news. And I remember there was one time reshoots with Tim Miller, and that was nearly a year ago. Mm-hmm. Finally, a trailer. Mm-hmm. I was so excited. Do you remember how excited I was for Furiosa?
Yeah. That you still are.
Just think this, except I know Furiosa is going to be a well beloved ID. Mm-hmm. This is more like, this is for me.
Yeah,
Borderlands for me to enjoy. And to those who say that Cate Blanchett is too old, or Jamie Lee Curtis is too old to be playing the characters they are, or Kevin Hart is too Kevin Hart, according to the trailers, which in my opinion he's not really that much of Kevin Hart, and that he's too short. Fuck you. If you look at this trailer and think, oh, this is shit, this isn't good, it's so miscast, it looks stupid, it looks like a rip-off of Guardians of the Galaxy, alright, don't watch it. Simple as. I need this movie to be good. It's all I want. And I want a sequel.
Yeah, I was surprised honestly by the trailer, and I'm not nearly as excited for it as you are, but having seen the trailer, I was like, okay, this looks like fun. And that's all I think I wanted it to be, is for it to look like fun. The only criticism I'd have, and it's a very small one, and I think that with the world that they create, they can get rid of this complaint or criticism or worry that I have. And that being that I know from the Borderlands games that it's very stylized. It's got that self-shaded look to it. So I'm afraid that kind of character aspect, because it gives it a lot of character, that won't be present in the movie, because it won't be self-shaded. But like that, like they can create a world that's fun and vibrant, that it won't need it. Now, there was a shot of one character, Mad Moxie, and she looked like she was in the art style of the game.
Yes.
So I hope...
she's the actress.
The named actress.
Yeah, Gina Gerson, if that's how you pronounce her name. She was in Thanksgiving. And I knew she was playing that, and so, yeah, that's great. I want her.
So maybe there'll be, parts of the world that are in that style, but not the whole world of it. So I'm looking forward to the same as you, and maybe, who knows, this time next year we'll be talking about it in our 2025 Oscars predictions.
I don't need it to be an Oscar, David. I just need this to be a fun time and to make enough money for it to warrant a sequel against all the odds and against all the haters.
I think if Jumanji got a sequel, this could get a sequel. Do you know? I think that's it needs to be fun, make enough money, and then we'll get a second one.
I already have Chris Pine cast as Handsome Jack. Mm-hmm. I already have that in my head. Mm-hmm. And just to finish off on this point, David, with the success of video game adaptations in recent years, with The Last of Us, Sonic the Hedgehog, Mortal Kombat, it's getting a sequel. Uncharted, say what you say, it's getting a sequel. Mm-hmm. Halo is going strong. I need nothing more than the Borderlands movie to just do so much financial success to warrant a sequel, to continue it. Did you see the poster?
Yeah. The six sitting down. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone who watched this trailer and saw the poster, if you think nothing but negative thoughts,
it's not for you.
It's not for you.
Move on. It's
Move
okay.
on. Just
you don't have to see everything.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say nothing at all. Mm-hmm. All right. Be grateful. Kevin Hart is not doing Kevin Hart-isms. You know, just like in the audio spike. It seems like in the trailer he's between -12 and -6. He's not going beyond that. Mm-hmm. Jack Black does sound like Claptrap. That's a win.
Sounds funny.
And you've got Academy Award winners in Jamie Lee Curtis and Cate Blanchett. What more do you want? This movie has everything going for it.
Okay, I believe you. I don't know why you're trying to convince me, man. We'll do an episode on it. Okay, fine. We'll do an episode on it.
Stay tuned for an episode in August of Borderlands, regardless of what you think.
Regardless of whether you like it or not, you're getting it.
David, I just want to thank you for letting me go on my little spiral. You yourself know more than anyone else how I've been anticipating Borderlands.
That's okay, man.
Even if it's bad, I'm going to like it.
Well, moving on from Borderlands, we are here to talk about the 2024 Oscars. We're going to be talking about a variety of topics. We're going to be talking about the best actors and actresses in both leading and supporting roles. We're going to be talking about best director, and we're going to be talking about best animated and best picture. So we're going to run through these various topics. We're going to go through them, and I'll read out all of the nominees in each category, and then we will have a bit of a debate back and forth, and we will, at the end of each category, we will pick who we think is going to win and who we'd like to win. I think that's fair, because I think that sometimes people can come up and you go, I think it will be this person, but I'd really like it if it was this person, you know?
I do feel like that's the way of things. It's kind of the way of movies as well. Mm-hmm. You might like a movie more than another, but another movie you can acknowledge is better.
You can say, no, this is the better movie, but I like this more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
let me give you an example. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is probably the best out of the three. Mm-hmm. But my favourite is number 3.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, that's a fair way to put it. But, okay, so we are going to start out, and I think, this is my personal opinion here, the hardest category to call, and that is actor in a supporting role.
Oh, yeah.
So, this one, in a lot of these other categories, and we're going through them, and I go, okay, I think it's very much down to these 2 people.
Yeah.
With these 5 actors, I think it's between 4 of them. I genuinely cannot tell you who I think will win, because I think that 4 of these roles are very, very, very good. So, the nominees for actor in a supporting role are Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction, Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling for Barbie, and Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things. So, of those 5, do you know which 4 I said would be the hard ones to decide? Do you know who the 5th one, the one I don't think will win, is?
You don't think Sterling K. Brown is going to win?
No. I think that of those 5, Sterling K. Brown is the safest one to say will not win. Having seen American Fiction, and I think it's important to point this out, between the 2 of us, we've tried to see every single thing we're going to talk about.
No,
here.
We're in Ireland. We don't get everything, and we don't get it in time.
Mm-hmm. So we haven't seen absolutely everything, but we've seen most of it.
Yes. Let me put it this way. Between the 2 of us, we have seen everything.
Yes, okay.
Put it that way.
So someone will have an informed opinion on any of these. But I just felt with American Fiction, that Sterling K. Brown, he is the least likely, because I don't think that his role was as good or as meaty as any of the other people that are nominated in that category.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think
I cannot attest to it. I've not seen American Fiction.
Yeah, so that's where I stand on that. But you have seen all other 4 of these. So realistically, at the moment, the front runners feel like Robert Downey Jr. and Ryan Gosling.
I'm going to have to throw Robert De Niro in there.
See, I would honestly throw Mark Ruffalo in there also.
Oh my god, I forgot about Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
I was watching I was watching the Poor Things trailer the other day just in preparation, just kind of rejig my memory on some things, and every time Mark Ruffalo came up I was just laughing. I was just like, his reactions or anything like that, the way he like would look away from camera, or his being driven insane by Bella Baxter, and he's like, you know, pouting off in the corner, and like this is a hilarious performance. I think it was a lot funnier. I think it was a lot funnier than I was expecting. It's on the level of Ryan Gosling and Barbie, but I don't know, Robert Downey Jr. and Robert De Niro both gave stellar dramatic performances compared to these two, with Ryan Gosling and Mark Ruffalo with their comedic performances.
I just refer back to when I saw Killers of the Flower Moon after we had saw Oppenheimer and Barbie. I said, David, it's between Robert De Niro and Robert Downey Jr. Watching Robert De Niro in Killers of the Flower Moon, he owned that role as if the character believed everything he presented himself as, and he excelled at it. And I think, just to swiftly say, yes, Ryan Gosling was fantastic as Ken, but I'm going to throw Robert De Niro, Mark Ruffalo and Robert Downey Jr. above him. Yes, of course he should have been nominated, no doubt, Ryan Gosling, and he was, but it's an easy top 3 horse race. And then again, Mark Ruffalo, having seen Poor Things, really kicked him out of that race, because yes, as much as I almost want and believe it to be that Robert Downey Jr. will win the Oscar in this category, I'd be okay, in fact maybe a little bit more glad to see Mark Ruffalo win.
I kind of feel the same. Like all 4 of those, not like, I don't want to be mean and be like excluding Sterling K. Brown.
He got the nomination.
He got the nomination. I think honestly that's as far as it will go, and I think that's nearly the same for Ryan Gosling as well. With the other 3, with Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr. and Mark Ruffalo, I would be happy with any of those 3 winning. Like in any world where they win, I'm happy for any of them. I think it will be Robert Downey Jr. I think that's who is the front runner. But any of them, including Ryan Gosling, I'd be happy with. I think the person I would be like a grin on my face, like, oh yeah, okay, would be Mark Ruffalo. Do you know, like I'd be,
yes,
I wasn't expecting this, but I'm very, very glad it happened.
And I think that's it. We were not expecting how great Mark Ruffalo was going to be in Poor Things. We weren't even thinking all that much of Poor Things altogether.
No. Yeah, you had said we were going to do an episode on it, and we said, not really bothered. We left it a couple of weeks, then we saw it, and we go, okay, yeah, no, we actually have to do an episode on that.
And we haven't done it yet.
No, so maybe we'll do it between now and when the Oscars happen, so look out for that soon. No hints, but soon. So I think that kind of wraps up that segment. So the next nominations we have are for actress in a supporting role. So we have Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks in The Colour Purple, America Ferrera in Barbie, Jodie Foster in Nyad, and Davine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers.
Can I just say, I loved Danielle Brooks in The Colour Purple.
Okay, this is in the same way that you didn't see American Fiction, I didn't see The Colour Purple, so you'll have to speak to her.
Well, I saw The Colour Purple, and I knew, okay, this actress in this movie was nominated for an Oscar. I knew that going in. So I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
I think in the same way how Ryan Gosling was fun, to say the most, or at least, to say the least, Ryan Gosling was fun in Barbie. Danielle Brooks was owning her character in The Colour Purple. The first thing you see her doing is a wide shot bird's eye shot looking down kind of. Marching. The way she marches in this movie, it's fun equivalent to the hilariosity that Sam Rockwell walks in that one scene in Three Billboards.
Okay, yeah.
Because when Sam Rockwell walks across the street, drunk to throw the kid out the window.
Yeah.
Every time Danielle Brooks marches in this movie, she has her fists in and she does it with pride. And don't fucking mess with her. And she did pull some emotions in that movie quite well. You saw the tears in that. She did good. She did real good. But I don't think she's going to win this.
If there's any of them that I would feel the same about, where I think it's safe to say that they won't win, I think Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer. I feel as though her role
she only had
very small.
She only had one scene to
show that off, and it's the interrogation scene.
Yeah, fending off Jason Clarke.
Yeah,
which was a good scene.
It is a good scene, but I wish that was longer.
Yes.
I felt as though it was cut very short.
It was too quick.
But I think, opposite to the actor of the supporting role, I feel as though this is a cinch. I feel as though it's already decided.
I agree
that it's going to be Divine Joy Randolph for the holdovers.
I could not agree more.
Yeah, I think that it's...
I think she's going to win.
Yeah. Of all 5 of those characters,
yes,
all 5 of those actresses, I felt her character and her story was the most well-rounded, and it was a subtle performance. Even though America Ferrera had that great scene in Barbie, where she has the speech of what it's like to be a woman, and that was a great speech, but...
It was just one scene.
Yeah, whereas... Divine Joy Randolph over the course of the movie was just fantastic and played the character so well, and she had her own story and her own emotions, and it was just played out so well, and you were happy for her by the end. I think it was a fantastic performance, deserved of an Oscar.
It was the wholesome actors acting that worked for me. When I say Danielle Brooks, when I'm giving Danielle Brooks her pride and cause for what she did, she's number 2 in this category.
Yeah,
because she was very loud in it, but the subtlety, the simplicity of an actor acting, Divine Joy Randolph, she's gonna get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we both saw Naiad with Jodie Foster. I think that was a good performance. It was fine, but it's not.
I would probably argue it would be just no different than Sturdy Kate Brown being nominated. It's just who's up next.
Yeah,
who's up next that we should. It's almost like, what's the point in nominating some actors if it's kind of obvious that it's not going to be them? Like when we know it's going to be. When you said 4 in the supporting actor, I said 3. 4 horse race, 3 horse race.
Yeah.
What's the point in having the other nominees in that category if we know it's just not going to be them? There's an argument to... I'm not saying it shouldn't be. I'm just saying, just like with 9 pictures being... Sorry, 10?
I think there's a possibility of 10. They can have up to 10.
I think with a possibility of 10 pictures being nominated, it's almost like, what's the point in half of them being nominated if we know it's between these 3 or 4 or 5? But...
I think it's for the recognition. I think it's to show people that...
Yes, and I agree that. I do agree with that. I suppose the point I'm trying to make is I don't feel the need to even talk about America Ferrera or Emily Blunt. Jodie Foster. I just feel it just feels like ticking a box as who's up next.
I get you, yeah.
It's definitely... If it were between anyone in the supporting actress, it's Divine Joy Randolph and Danielle Brooks.
Okay, yeah.
That's just how I feel. But I think Divine's is going to win.
Yeah, awesome. I think that it probably, for me, then it's Divine as well, and it's who I want to win as well. So it matches there. The next category then we have, moving away from some actors and actresses, we've got the nominees for animated feature film. So our nominees are The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
As much as I want it to be Nimona, I do have a few issues with it. And I think it's more in the sense that it just could have been touched with a little bit more of writing and a closing of a story, or the closing of the world they presented to us. Other than that, Nimona's fucking great.
Nimona is a real surprise because it wasn't one that I think maybe the nominations served its purpose, and it's to highlight something that you weren't intending to watch, because I had seen Nimona come out and I had seen a lot of people praising it, but it wasn't one that I still was like, okay, yeah, I'll add that to my list, or I'll watch that when it was nominated. And I said, okay, I'm going to watch all of these in preparation for talking about it. That's when I finally watched it and I was like, oh wow, I actually really do enjoy this. So it was one that
it's really fun.
It's really stylized. I really like the art style for it. I like the world that it created. I like the story that it was telling. The fact that it was originally technically a Disney movie because they did the Fox merger and they acquired Blue Sky Studios, and then they canned it. Like, this could have been another nomination for Disney.
Yeah, but they don't like gay.
They didn't want
They don't like gay representation in their stuff unless it could be cut out in an insert shot.
Yeah, they had because it's gay representation and trans representation. That's what I got from it. And
yeah.
That was
gender fluid representation.
Exactly, and it was just too much for them. So I'm glad that this didn't get completely cut out and not see the light of day, that Netflix were able to pick it up and release it, and now they've gone and it is real, like shoving it in Disney's face, like, look, that thing that you dropped, it's an Oscar nominated film. You cut an Oscar nominated film on the floor because you were afraid to release it. So I'm really, really glad that that one's there. Another one then that I want to discuss is called Robot Dreams.
Haven't seen it.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people have seen this. I hadn't heard of it until it was nominated, so went out to watch it. Robot Dreams is a very, very interesting film. It's set in this in a world with anthropomorphized animals. So it's all animals. There's no humans or anything like that. And we follow Dog, who is by himself in his apartment, and he is very lonely. He doesn't have any friends or anything like that, so he orders himself a robot, and him and the robot become best friends. What's interesting about this movie is that there's no dialogue whatsoever, and it's all just music and the sounds of the world. It's a very, very interesting story, and it's about what happens when you are someone who is by themselves, a lonely person. You find that friend and then you lose that friend. What do you do when you lose that friend? And I was really, really surprised at how much I actually enjoyed it and how much I was invested in it for something that I wasn't. There was no dialogue. It was all just context and just watching the story unfold.
And it's a feature. And
it prominently features that song, Earth, Wind and Fire, September.
I know it to hear it.
Yeah, it prominently features that, and it's very. I would recommend it just if you're looking for something very simple and nice. Like, it's not like, even though it has those themes, like, there's not a whole lot of depth. There's not a whole lot of thinking that goes into it.
Yeah,
like, it's what you see is what it is.
Yeah,
it's obvious. So that was one, like Nimona, that wasn't on my radar at all, that the Oscars got to shine a light on for me.
But you don't think that's gonna win?
I don't. This one is a hard one to call as well. Now, the other three that are nominated, so Elemental, which we discussed in an episode, and we weren't too keen on it.
No, it's not their best.
No,
it's not Pixar's best, and I don't think this is the one Pixar's gonna win. That's for sure.
I don't think so either. The other two then are The Boy and the Heron and Across the Spider-Verse. I could see Across the Spider-Verse winning.
Really?
Yeah.
Because that's what I think.
Yeah.
I did not watch The Boy and the Heron, and I think I've been a little bit put off because I feel like only the dubbed version has been available. The version where you have Dave Bautista, Mark Hamill, and Robert Pattinson and Christian Bale and Florence Pugh, all the big name actors who are actors, not voice actors, doing the animation, whereas I would rather watch subtitles.
Okay, well, interesting that you say that, because I watched The Boy and the Heron and I watched it with subtitles. I watched it in Japanese.
Yes.
And I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
I thought that visually it was interesting.
Yeah.
The score was interesting. Like, the only thing that it was missing was a plot. I just felt like the plot wasn't there at all. I just didn't. And I know what it was doing, and I understand what it was doing, but I just felt like it was a bunch of ideas thrown together with no cohesive story throughout.
That's fine. I have no interest in watching it. I never had. I as far as Studio Ghibli,
Yeah.
as far as their movies come and go, it's not one I felt attracted to watching. And if there's some I still haven't watched, it would be some of those over this.
Yeah.
I sometimes, when a character has a nose that's the same size as their head, it's just a little off-putting for me.
I get you, yeah.
You know?
No, I can see very much that sometimes when it comes to the animated stuff, Studio Ghibli and Pixar, it's like an automatic, like, yeah, they're nominated. Whatever that came out that this year is nominated. You know the way like the Eurovision, like there's 5 people that are automatically in the Eurovision.
Yeah.
They don't have to qualify.
Yeah.
That kind of feels what Pixar and Studio Ghibli are. But Across the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse is an interesting one because I don't know how I feel about it. I know that when we watched it, I enjoyed it. And I know that we praised it a lot in the
Review we did.
But I need to watch it again to really solidify it, because I feel as though in my head there's 1 or 2 scenes to stick out, but I really do need to rewatch it to just justify it being Best Picture. And I know Into the Spider-Verse, I think I liked Into the Spider-Verse a lot more than Across the Spider-Verse. Maybe it's because I've seen it more times. I've only seen Across the Spider-Verse once.
Yeah.
But I think that the same way that you, I think Across the Spider-Verse will win. But me personally, I would quite like to see Nimona win.
I'm a little cautious because as much as I want Nimona to win just to point the middle finger at Disney, I just feel a bit too sure that it won't. It's like I can acknowledge that as a fact, but I can't acknowledge the possibility that Borderlands is going to be a bad movie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can acknowledge in my own content brain, as much as I loved Nimona, I think Spider-Verse has claimed it. I hope The Boy and the Heron doesn't, because, well, no, maybe I shouldn't say that. I should say I hope Elemental doesn't, because I don't think Elemental was all that great. But it's an interesting one.
I think of the 5, the one I'd be most surprised is, the most surprised I would be with Robot Dreams. But I think that could also win just based on the fact that it's a very universal story. I think that I could be wrong, but I think it was made by, it's Spanish in origin, but it takes place in New York. And because there's no dialogue, it can, it transcends that barrier of language.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe that might just like resonate with maybe Academy members, but I would be surprised. Okay, so moving on then, we're going to go to our next category, which is actor in a leading role. So the nominees are Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction.
Who do you think is going to win?
I think it's been claimed. I feel as though Cillian Murphy with Oppenheimer, I think that he is set up to win it. However, and I thought that for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Until we watched The Holdovers and Paul Giamatti, and I was like, oh.
As far as a performer acting, Paul Giamatti just stepped in here. Hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah.
And we know what he did. And it's like everyone just has to shut up because they know Paul Giamatti has done what he did. And it's not, I'm making it sound like it's something malicious here. No, Paul Giamatti did a performer job, a theatrical job in acting. He was phenomenal in this movie, in The Holdovers. Go back to listen to our review on The Holdovers.
Yeah.
Because I'm like you, David. Maybe I didn't think at first when I saw Cillian Murphy, not Cillian, to our American friends. I thought after a while, yeah, Cillian Murphy's he's got it. And then we saw The Holdovers, and then everything changed.
See, Oppenheimer is,
it's an entity.
Yeah, it's more than a movie, and his performance as Oppenheimer, like there's no scenes without him unless it's a Robert Downey Jr. scene.
It's very much of a showcase event.
Yes.
Whereas Holdovers is a good old fashioned proper.
Yeah, and it's a character driven
Yes.
story. You know, it's not about the creation of the atomic bomb. It's about, okay, let's put these characters in a situation and see how they react to each other.
Yes.
So they are very, very different performances.
And it's exactly what the voting members want. Mm-hmm. So I think it's safe to say, regardless, it's a 2-horse race in this between Paul Giamatti and, say it with me, Mr. America, Cillian
Murphy.
With think of it like a K, except it's spelled with a C. Yeah.
Two of the other performances there, Bradley Cooper and Coleman Domingo, those both feel like Oscar baity performances.
Hold on a second. As much as I might agree with you, I might think Bradley Cooper, yes. Mm-hmm. But I'm very delighted that Coleman Domingo has got a bit of representation out there now. Mm-hmm. I've been watching Coleman Domingo ever since I saw him appear in Fear the Walking Dead.
Okay.
And he's been an actor who's appeared in that show quite through and through. Mm-hmm. And he's been stepping up quite a bit in the last while. He's had a few prominent scenes in Euphoria. He was in If Beale Street Could Talk. He was in Candyman. And he's directing his upcoming movie that he's starring in, playing Nat Cole, a musician, another musician biopic. And he's playing Michael Jackson's father, Joe Jackson, in the Michael Jackson biopic.
Well, when I say Oscar baity, I mean it in the sense that these historical figures, you know, like non-fictional characters, and that is with...
I see what you're coming from.
Yeah.
But I have to throw Freddie Mercury out to you. Was that not Oscar baity?
Yeah.
But he won.
Yeah, but that's because in a lot of... If you go back and look at Oscar wins, it's very, very rare that original characters win the Best Actor Oscar. It is mostly fictionalized versions of real people.
Okay. So like a Robert J. Oppenheimer as opposed to a Paul Giamatti's character.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, like that. Like, if we go back, if you bear with me just 2 seconds, I'm going to look up the most recent Best Actors. Okay, I have the list here now. So, if we go, it kind of nearly goes back and forth in terms of actual real people. For, you know, it goes fictionalized, real, fictionalized. Like, so you have a fair chance of winning if it's a real person. So, we had Brendan Fraser in The Whale, Will Smith in King Richard, fictionalized version of the father of Serena and Venus Williams. Anthony Hopkins in The Father, who's fictional. Joaquin Phoenix is the Joker, fictional. Then we have Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody, real. Gary Oldman, Darkest Hour, real. Casey Affleck in Manchester by the Sea, real.
Was he real?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Really?
Or maybe that was fictional.
Oh,
maybe that was
Manchester by the Sea's. Oh God, if that's real.
Oh, maybe that's fictional. Okay, sorry.
I think that's fictional. Yeah.
Leo DiCaprio in The Revenant.
That's real, but
fictional. Like, it's a real event, but fictional character. So.
Literally everything he could have. It's a heavily dramatized role.
Eddie Redmayne in The Theory of Everything, real.
Wait, he won?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
2015, man, years ago.
Wow.
That was 9 years ago. Fun. Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club, fictional.
I thought he was real.
Was he real? There you go. So like it's.
I thought he was real. I get the point, David.
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis, Lincoln, Colin Firth in The King's Speech, Sean Penn in Milk, like Philip Seymour Hoffman, Capote, Jamie Foxx in Ray, Adrian Brody in The Pianist.
I didn't know Jamie Foxx won.
There you go. So, like, based on that list there, like, it's more often than not, a real person, a fictionalized version of a real person is winning. So that's what I mean when I say Oscar baity, that you have that. We've three actually. There's three nominees here now that are fictionalized versions of real people. That in Leonard Bernstein's Bradley Cooper's Leonard Bernstein, Coleman Domingo as Rustin, and then Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer.
Who's the fifth person?
The fifth then is Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction.
Right.
And I think that he has a good performance, but I just didn't like the movie, and I'm surprised, honestly, that...
He was nominated?
Yeah, I think that the movie just... It didn't land for me. I think we'll talk about this as we get into the best picture, but it just misrepresented itself, I think.
Okay.
But I think that it you know, it's very clear that Bradley Cooper has been really gunning for the Oscar, and it feels like he is...
He has to get in line.
Yeah, I think that he's really looking for it, and maybe in another year he would have gotten it if he wasn't going up against performances like Paul Giamatti and Cillian Murphy. I think that it will be Cillian Murphy, and I'd be happy if it was Cillian Murphy, but I wouldn't be in any way upset if it was Paul Giamatti.
I think I wanted Cillian Murphy just to get some Irish representation, but I will also be glad. Just like Mark Ruffalo, if he wins over RDJ, I will be glad to see Paul Giamatti get that win.
Mm-hmm. Moving on then, we have the Best Actress in a Leading Role. So our nominees are Annette Bening in Naiad, Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Huller in Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan in Maestro, and Emma Stone in Poor Things.
I think we both and all of us know who's going to win this.
I don't know. I disagree. I don't think it's obvious. I think I know who you're going to pick, but I don't think...
So is it is it a 2-horse race or more than 2?
Looking at it here now, for me, it's a 2-horse race.
Okay.
Honestly.
So why do you think it could be Lily Gladstone
I knew
over Emma Stone?
Okay, perfect. Okay, we're on the same page here. I think Emma Stone's performance was fantastic as Bella Baxter. I don't think it's one of those roles that, like, you know, Yorgos Lanthimos comes to her and she says, I want to put a baby's brain in your body and you have to act it out. And she goes, okay, yeah, bet, let's go. It's an insane role, and she played it exceptionally well. But something about Lily Gladstone's just performance in Killers of the Flower Moon, and I'm constantly drawn back to that scream that she has at the bottom of the stairs when she finds out that her sister's been killed in the bomb, and that she's losing everyone in her family and people are dying around her and she's helpless to stop it. I just think her performance was just so muted and so
subtle.
Subtle and heart-wrenching and heartbreaking, and little moments of, like, at the start when Leo is when he's flirting with her, and, you know, she's not giving into it and she's smiling in the background. It's just such a subtle performance. You can't help but love her. I really do, and I'd love to see her win it, based, you know, for the representation of Native American people in the what tribe was it? The
Osage.
In the I don't know if she is Osage, but it was a great opportunity to shine a light on the Osage people and the tragedies they went through. So I really do think it is a 2-horse race between either of them, and I'd be happy with either of them. But I just don't think it is as easy to put a nail in it and say it is definitely Emma Stone.
That's fair enough. And maybe I spoke a little bit too fast in claiming it to be Emma Stone.
Yeah.
I do think it is 85% Emma Stone.
I think you're right.
15% Lily Gladstone.
Yeah.
Whereas Annette Bening from Naiad, yep, great. Just as great as Jodie Foster. And you know what we thought about her. Nothing bad, just a claim. Just a claim.
It was just there.
Yeah,
I think
it was just there.
I think with Naiad especially, it was when I was like, what is that? I was just surprised. I hadn't heard of it.
I thought it was just a nice, interesting Netflix movie.
Yeah. And again, there you go. A real person, fictionalized version of a real person. Who do we have in this? So we have Naiad, we have Killers of the Flower Moon, and we have Maestro. So we, in the same way that we had with the leading actor, we have 3 real people, fictionalized versions of real people, and 2 original characters. That of Sandra Huller in Anatomy of a Fall and Emma Stone in Poor Things. So it's interesting the way things go. I think that you're right. I know in my heart of hearts it probably is Emma Stone because she has been getting a lot of awards, whether it be the BAFTAs and
SAG and all that, and the Golden Globes.
Like, normally you do kind of look at these awards leading up to the Oscars, and that will give you a fair indication.
Yeah.
Now, in some ways, it'll swing back and forth between a couple of different people winning. So I think if you really had to nail me down to it, I think Emma Stone will win.
Nailed it.
But I want Lily Gladstone to win.
And that's fair. Whatever happens, I'll be happy because I know it's going to be one of the two.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't really speak about Sandra Huller. Like,
Well, I didn't see Anatomy of a Fall.
I saw it, and I think I'll talk about her performance as we talk about the movie, because
Fair.
I'll only be repeating myself anyway. We're going to talk about that now in the next couple of minutes anyway. So
Okay.
we'll move on to our second last category. We have the nominees for directing. We have Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. Do you feel in any of those that it's already a certified win?
No.
Okay, I think that you are right. I think that of those 5, I could very much see 3 of them being like a 3-horse race. I think that The Zone of Interest and Anatomy of a Fall, those are... I've only seen Anatomy of a Fall.
And I've only seen Zone of Interest.
Yeah, so that's where we're blind to that. So the other will be able to inform each of us. But
Well, tell me, do you want to tell me a quick 2-3 sentences about Anatomy of a Fall in this direction? Or just in terms of the direction?
it's an interesting one, because it's... Anatomy of a Fall is about a couple and their son who's visually impaired, and she goes for a nap and the son goes for a walk, and when he comes back, his father is dead outside and he's fallen from the roof, and they come and they take his body away, and they're not sure if he died from the fall or from a blunt force trauma to the head and then fell, and they're not sure if he was hit over the head or if he hit his head on the way down and that's what killed him.
And what about the direction?
So it's interesting because the way that it's presented to us, I'd say the first half of the film is just kind of
Talking about what happened
and dealing with the consequences, and then the second half is a courtroom drama. But it's not like a typical American courtroom drama. It's in France, so it's very interesting. It's just people talking, and there's no like objection sustained, all this stuff. It's
just to show what American courtroom dramas are like.
Very much just someone's on the stand and both lawyers will ask them questions.
Yeah.
And they'll just be like, hold on now a minute, you said that, but that contradicts them. And so we're moving around the courtroom and you're getting it from multiple perspectives. So the direction is very good, but it's one of those stories that I think when you put it up against the other ones, it just doesn't shine through as one that will win. Now, I know very little about The Zone of Interest. I know obviously the general topic, and I know it's
essentially about the German family with its patriarch, the man, who is a high-ranking Nazi, operating the concentration camp that is literally neighbours to their home. And there is a wall just separating them. And the whole, I suppose, directing of it is this family living their life as normal can be in their world, which is normal, except there's a concentration camp right next to them. And you can hear it. You can see the wall, and you can see the way the camera is set up. Very theatrical, very static. If it moves, it's on a dolly, or it's tracking.
Yeah.
And you see characters and elements moving in the background or in the far distance, and it's very seamless to just... There's prisoners, there are Jews with the Holocaust workers right there, just doing what they're doing in the background as if they're staff. Don't get me started with how they deal with the audio. The real, like, you hear it, but you don't see it. So you're left to imagine what's going on, because it's solely from the perspective of this family. And when certain questions are brought up about what the fuck is going on here, it's deflected. As if the conversation's normal. It's a very disturbing movie. And just based on that description of what you said about Anatomy of Fall, I think the direction might be better, because directing is all elements, not just telling what the actors to do. So I think Zone of Interest is better for directing. However,
yeah, I from what I knew about it, I think I would think the same, because how do you portray being neighbors to a concentration camp without like expressly showing the concentration camp and the horrors? It's let's let you know that these things are going on, but it's just out of sight. You know, it's using, like you always say, if it can't be seen in the frame, it doesn't exist.
Yes.
But it's the opposite of that. It's, we're not going to show you what's in the frame, but it very much is here. And it's just out of frame.
There's just one shot where a character is walking a minute across a wall, and you see the top of the wall, and you can see the buildings. It's there. You just can't see it. But it's in frame. I think we should talk about the three who...
The other. So, Poor Things with Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yeah.
He is... I think that the world that he created is very, very unique.
Yes.
I would kind of nearly compare it to like a Terry Gilliam world.
Yeah.
And I don't really like Terry Gilliam.
It's one that's not attractive to us.
Yeah. It's dirty and it's grimy and it's weird, and the style of like the
Schumacher as well, in a way. It's a little bit like Schumacher, I think.
In what movie, sorry?
It's a little bit like Batman Returns and
yeah, like the gothic style of it.
Maybe gothic. It's very unnatural. Like you can in set in the Victorian era, you can see this can be set in Earth, but there's definitely something unnatural about it.
And then we have Killers of the Flower Moon from the great Martin Scorsese,
the Professor Martin Scorsese.
The master.
The maestro.
The maestro, the real maestro here. And he just creates this world that, even though it's 3.5 hours, like, I'm locked in and I'm just so interested in every single aspect and every single character that is portrayed to me, and I just want to know more. And he allows that throughout the whole movie, just let you live in this world and really like get a feel for it. And then like the soundtrack of it, with having the guitar,
the strum,
the strum throughout.
It's on Apple TV Plus now, and I haven't had the privilege of rewatching it, and I want to, but I think this is good old fashioned traditional cinema and directing. Yeah, and I'm so delighted Scorsese has this in the running, in the top 3 in our opinions to be nominated, and I won't complain if he wins. No, and I won't complain if Yorgos Lanthimos wins. As a guy who directed 2 movies that I wouldn't really want to put myself out there to watch, which is The Lobster and Killing of a Sacred Deer, and I haven't watched The Favourite. I'm not a huge Yorgos Lanthimos fan, but Poor Things, he did phenomenally well. Yeah,
it completely changed your opinion. Like
by a milestone. Yeah. Oh my god, I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed.
And then the final one we haven't discussed is Oppenheimer. Yeah, Christopher Nolan. I think this is I think it's the winner. I think it's he's in.
How great! I think we as audiences want to see Christopher Nolan give a speech, having won an Oscar for directing. He won one for writing, but it's not enough. It's like Quentin Tarantino wants to win for directing. He only won for writing. Christopher Nolan,
he's due.
Yes, and it's funny to think that it's always between Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve, and especially after watching Tenet, it feels like Denis Villeneuve, he's skyrocketed ahead of you there, Nolan. Yeah, and Nolan just took one step ahead of the race. Says, fuck you gonna do about it?
Let me show you how it's done here.
Respectably well. And I think a part of me does want to see Christopher Nolan win this, but I won't complain if Marty wins, and I would think I would rather either one of them two to win, just because I prefer them. But I can live a happy life knowing Yorgos could win. That's how I feel on this.
And then our final, the big one, the final category, we have the nominees for Best Picture.
Oppenheimer.
Let me go through them first. Okay, I think it's fair if we go through them and then we'll go one by one through them and we'll discuss the actual film.
Yeah.
Okay. So, nominees for Best Picture: American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. So we'll start at the top. Start American Fiction. I don't think American Fiction was very good. I think that it was presented in a way that it was this satire on black writers and
I saw the trailer.
yeah. Well, just in case anyone at home didn't. That's why we have microphones, Brian. We're not talking just me and you. It's presented in a way that it's about black writers and how they're writing black books, and it's a comedy, and it's, you know, a real zany satire, but also very smart. And then what it actually was really was a story about a man and his family and how they deal with death and how they deal with the potential of another death and how they transition their mother into like full-time care and stuff like that, and then he dealing with his own relationships and stuff like that. And then it kind of every now and again comes back to the plot of the book, and I just felt like I was like, this feels like two different movies.
That does not look like the movie I saw in the trailer.
Yeah, I was blindsided by it, that I really did think it was just the American Fiction, about the book, but it is secretly then another movie in there about him and his struggles with his family and his relationships and stuff like that. So I think I was surprised by that, and so because it wasn't the movie that I was at all expecting, I was let down by it.
I didn't
and
watch it.
I think if it was either of those, if it had just been one or the other,
yeah,
I would have liked it a lot more. But it felt like it was towing the line of, he wanted to make this movie about the family, and he's like, okay, but I have to have your man have an interesting job, and so he then came up with this other one. I don't know. I would be very, very surprised if it won. I think that it's probably, of all of the movies that are nominated here, I think it's actually the weakest. Well, actually, no, sorry, we'll get to that later. But and then we're moving on to the next one. I know you haven't seen it either, so I'm sorry if I'm talking too much now. So, Anatomy of a Fall.
Except that is a movie I will watch.
Yeah,
when I can.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Dublin's just not worth the spin.
So, Anatomy of a Fall, as I said about it earlier, it's about the
whether she killed the father or not.
Yeah, but what's interesting, okay, I didn't get into this earlier, but what's interesting about it is the dissection of, it's not even just about the anatomy of a fall, it's about the anatomy of a relationship, and it's really about the dissection of their relationship and how it's very, very easy to make a judgment on something when you don't know any of the facts, when you're just presented with this one small snippet of someone's life, or someone making assumptions from being on the outside. And
did you fall in that trap then of making assumptions for yourself watching the movie?
As it was going on, I was like, she was, recounting the events, and I was like, that doesn't make sense there, and that doesn't make sense. And then as it progressed further on, I was like, okay, well, yeah, no, that's fully taken out of context, and your own memory. Then sometimes it's easy to, like, it's a lot of it is dependent on the son, who's visually impaired. So he's asked questions, and he's like, I didn't see it, but I heard it, and the way you're describing it is, that's not what happened, but I can't explain how you're wrong, if that makes sense. Like, as it got on later in the film, there's a recording of the two having an argument, and it's played, and it's from the day before his death, say, and it's an argument between a couple.
Don't go into it too much.
I know, no, but when you hear an argument out of context, it sounds so much worse than it is. It's like, because you haven't lived the 3 years leading up to this argument, where these little arguments and these unresolved things have all manifested in this big massive argument. So that big massive argument seems worse. And if you as a bystander only saw this, you're like, oh, I'm glad I'm not in that relationship. It's a film that really does make you think, like, you can't judge these things from having such little information. And then all of that comes to a head in a trial.
Yeah.
Where it's, did she push him? And like, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter whether she did or not, or if he fell or not, and I won't obviously spoil it or anything like that. It's just a really interesting way of looking at things from a view that you wouldn't necessarily, like, we're always looking into other people's lives from the outside, like, you know, you only have your own life and your own experiences and stuff like that. But imagine if your experiences from the son's point of view are, you're being told otherwise. He's like, no, but that's not what happened, and I can't explain, because he's also a child, he can't fully explain the things that are happening around him because he can't see it, and he's not old enough to understand it. He's not aware of these things. So it's a very, very interesting film. And like that, like I was saying earlier, it's courtroom drama as well for the second half, but not a typical courtroom drama.
You got a lot out of this movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed a lot of it. It's far from perfect. There's flaws in there, and there's flaws, and it's not even like they're like flaws with the filmmaking, but it's my own, you know, personal like, I'm not like, that doesn't line up, and it's my problems with her story and stuff like that that's not addressed and stuff like that, and stuff like that. But we'll move on because there's other films to talk about, and we'd like to hear your opinion as well. So the next film then is Barbie, which was, you know, famous for the Barbenheimer movement last year.
Phenomenon.
One that was in a little bit of controversy in that Margot Robbie not nominated for Best Actress.
But I don't think she deserved it.
That's fair. Yeah, if I would have thought that she did deserve it.
Where's the controversy?
Because I think that everyone did expect her to, because she's nominated in almost every other award.
Well, then I would have to see who are the common five nominated, and instead of Margot, who was nominated for the Oscars instead. I'd need to know that.
I feel like that was Annette Bening.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like this was the first time I heard of her being nominated, and all of a sudden
so Annette Bening's the outsider.
Yeah, for me in this, Lily Gladstone, Sandra Huller, Carey Mulligan, Emma Stone, yeah, Annette Bening is the outsider here for me.
Alright, well, I still think Annette Bening deserved the Oscar nomination over Margot
Fair.
Robbie.
But we're not talking about the actresses, we're talking about the film itself.
I think Barbie getting nominated is the same vein of Black Panther being nominated for Best Picture. It's
expand, yeah, go ahead, keep going.
It's essentially the ideology, the context, the topic and conversation this movie has.
Yes.
Of course, Black Panther for the black community, for black people, for black culture. Mm-hmm. Barbie's the same for women representation, female gender. Women live as a life. It's everything for it, and it's not knocking. You listening? Toxic masculinity. It's not knocking you down. It's
putting a mirror to your face and saying, look at yourself. Change if you see anything you don't like, change it. It's not, you know, expressly saying this is awful, this is terrible, this needs to change. It's putting a mirror up to it and saying, this is what it is.
Yeah.
If you see something you don't like, that's your fault.
I think this movie got nominated for the topic in discussion that it presented, and that's fine. That's fair enough. As the movie, though, well, when I think that Will Ferrell's role is quite redundant in it, that's a bit of an element that I think should have been fixed. And that's where I stand on it.
Yeah, I think of all the movies nominated, this is the film I had the most fun with.
And that's fine. That's no problem. Yeah,
and I'm glad to see it.
It's good to see a bit of diversity in the Best Picture nomination. Having said that, they can pick up to 10. So if you're only allowed to pick 5, what 5 doesn't get nominated?
And you would think Barbie would be in that.
I just like to see everyone see how proud they would to keep that in the top 5 if they would. Because I don't think it would be, David. I don't think 5 of those movies. I think 5 of those movies to still be nominated. Barbie not be one of them.
Okay, fair enough. The next nomination,
and I like Barbie. Sorry, I liked Barbie.
Yeah,
I liked it.
The next then is The Holdovers.
Number 2.
That's your number 2. Okay, interesting. I think that I'm surprised it nominated in Best Picture.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not surprised with the nominations for actors in it, actors and actresses, but I'm surprised to see it as a Best Picture nominee. Now, don't get me wrong, I loved it.
Oh yeah,
I'm just surprised to see it here.
the way the movie started with Paul Giamatti's character and how it concluded with him, you're still surprised?
Yeah, I am, honestly. Just because I think that, Oscars do tend to, with the movies, do tend to lean a bit more, serious and more dour.
What do you mean?
I just feel like
That movie is serious and a bit dour.
No, but well, maybe it is. Maybe topical. Yeah, maybe I'm talking about the arse. I don't know. Yeah.
No.
I just think about the comedic performances in it, and not that the laugh out loud, but just the dialogue. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
You chose Barbie.
Yeah.
I don't know what pill you're eating.
I don't know. I stand corrected. Yeah. No. I'm happy to see it here.
Oh no, yeah, 100%. But for me, it's high in the list. Definitely.
Of the films, as I'm just scanning them here, it is in my top 3 of who I'd like to win.
But not top 2, I bet.
No, yeah, probably number 2, actually.
Yeah?
Looking at it here now, just at a quick glance, yeah, probably number 2.
See that? I've got a superpower to change people's minds.
But then, I'd have Barbie as number 3.
Ah, that's fine.
You know?
That's fine.
Then we have Killers of the Flower Moon.
Shit. No, I still think it would be number 3 for me. I do believe that. As Best Picture, as much as it is expected, the Martin Scorsese movie, it has to get Best Picture nominated.
I think,
but he did come out on stage, and he conducted the closing sequence.
Wrapped it up in a nice little bow. I think if you want our full thoughts on it, we did a full episode.
Yeah.
So it's hard to distill it here now, but it's worth going back to have a listen. Maestro. Did you see Maestro?
I saw Maestro.
So did I. And I have to say, I did not like Maestro.
I don't think I got much out of it either. There were a few sequences I just... I was on my phone, let's just say.
I just found it quite boring. I just didn't.
I liked Carey Mulligan in it.
Yeah, she was okay, but I think that the best way that I could describe it is that it's a film about this conductor, and at the start of the film you find out, it's a gay man, but he really loves his wife. And by the end of the film, you realise, he was a gay man who really loved his wife. Where the movie starts and where the movie ends is pretty much the same, except he's older. And we see some trials and tribulations, and we see, the lows of his marriage where it breaks apart, and we see the highs of him conducting, and he's delighted with himself. But I other than those 2 scenes, I would really, really find it hard to even describe what happened in the film.
The scene where 2 characters are talking for 5 to 10 minutes or 15 minutes just straight in the one standing shot performing. If that weren't done so much these days, I would give it praise for that. But it's a scene that is done quite a bit.
Yeah.
So,
the next then we've Oppenheimer. You've seen Oppenheimer?
Are you going to cut that little blurt I shouted out at the start of this segment?
Which one?
The one where I said Oppenheimer?
No, I'll leave it in there, man.
Yeah, so I think you know where I stand.
Yeah, fair enough. Oppenheimer, I think it is the decision. I think it is the winner. I would be surprised to see anything else take it.
I think you should have saved this for last, David, because...
Well, I'm just going through the list as it is.
Oppenheimer will win Best Picture.
I think it's a shoe-in, yeah.
If it doesn't, sue me.
Sue him. You heard it here. Then one we haven't discussed at all, Past Lives.
I've seen it recently.
Yeah, I saw it before as well. You want to talk us through a little bit of it?
It's about 2 friends in Korea, boy and a girl. Boy and a girl, they're just friends. They're not teenagers getting involved in a relationship or anything. She leaves to go to live in Canada, but then eventually New York with her family. So she learns to speak English quite well, and she ends up reconnecting with her childhood friend who still lived in Korea, and them two reconnecting. And because essentially the movie's about what could have been in terms of them being in a relationship, being a couple, that's the thing I got out of it. What could have been, because she has now a relationship. She's married to an American. As much as she innocently says that to her husband, oh, he was like my childhood sweetheart, that we could have been married, like calling him handsome. Yeah. She's saying this to her husband, and he's not being the aggressive asshole
not at all.
He's allowing her explore that possibility. Not that she goes to try it with her friend. It's she is allowed to get to know him, and when he leaves, well, I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah,
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, it's the exploration of what was a romantic love and what that evolves into, as it's no longer romantic.
Yeah,
you know, like those feelings, they're not gone, but they're not what they once were, and what they can't be that, and kind of the realization that maybe it didn't work out here, but in another life, you know, in the future maybe ourselves will come back around, or in the past maybe.
Yeah, well, I kind of got that sort of said at the end of it, but the message for me throughout the movie is like, what was a potential that wasn't explored? You know, what could have been
misconnections. Yeah. The next thing then we have is Poor Things.
As much as I know Oppenheimer will win. Oh no, sorry, I'm confusing that with Direction. No, as much as I loved Poor Things, as much as ashamed as I am for thinking I wouldn't like it, I'm happy it got nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah. I think that we have a lot to say on Poor Things, and we'll be discussing that in a future episode. I don't want to bog us down too long on it here, but tune in next week for the episode on Poor Things, where we'll discuss it in depth.
I can't wait to talk about Poor Things.
Yeah, you have a lot to say on it, because I remember like that we weren't going to see it, and I think I'm almost certain that the one we saw, when we saw it, it was like the last showing, like it was leaving theaters the next day, and we finished it, and you turned to me and you were like, oh, we need to do an episode on this. Like it just completely changed your mind, like, because I had said it to you a few times about going to see it and you weren't at all interested. But it's a fantastic movie with great characters, comedic performances, and set design, fantastic direction, fantastic. It deserves to be here in this category, and we'll be talking about it next week in full depth. So if you want to listen to that, please do.
Tune in, because it's happening.
And then the final one then is The Zone of Interest, which you talked about there earlier.
Yeah. I think as much as I need to watch Anatomy of a Fall, you need to watch Zone of Interest.
Yeah, and it's the same situation where it is unfortunately just not available where we live. Yeah. It's very, very difficult to actually see. So I have it on my watch list, and it is one that I've been looking for and have been excited for, and they did a limited run of it, and it wasn't playing in any of the cinemas around us. So
hey man, it's in Drogheda.
It's in Drogheda, yeah. I couldn't get to Drogheda to see it, unfortunately, but no, it's I haven't seen it, but I haven't spoken to you and spoken to Richie as well, and he said, you know, it's not an easy watch, but it's an important watch.
Yeah.
And you said the same, that it's not one that you're going to have fun watching, but it's important to watch it.
Yeah, I'm just going to refer to what I said earlier in the movie, because anything more I say, it's just not going to do justice. I'm just thinking of a few, like even there's this one bit. There was at a certain point in the movie, I just didn't realise what the Auschwitz concentration camp looked like.
Yeah.
I didn't realise the building structure. I didn't realise what it was really. You know, I guess I thought ignorantly it was just a hut. It was just a bunch of huts. It's not. It's red brick buildings, like a factory.
I think I've only seen really the outside of it, like the tracks leading up to it.
Yes,
in pictures. But.
So when I realized the buildings were that, I realized the surrounding environment of the concentration camp,
how close they were to it,
and how it's just been there the whole time, and these Nazi motherfuckers. And then there's this final closing at the end. You know, throughout the movie, they're just talking about the final solution, the eradication of this religion, in that of millions of people, as if it's just numbers and figures on a sheet.
Yeah, it's not people, it's numbers. Yeah, that's what they're reduced down to.
I don't want to give it away, but the end of the movie, it introduces or incorporates a very objective, well, the movie is all overall objective, but a very real sequence, let's say, that you and I would both know, like anyone else, as a obvious fact. But seeing it presented to us, having watched the narrative in that of the movie, it just kind of hit you across the head in what the fuck have you done?
Yeah, it really hit home for you
It's,
at the end.
It's not an easy watch, and it's quite disturbing, and oh fuck, yeah.
Yeah, no, I look forward to it.
Yeah,
I
yeah. And
not in the the same way that I would look forward to Barbie.
yeah,
but
and
I'd
then
look forward to it
and then
nonetheless.
just for your own self measure, look up how this patriarch Nazi man of the family died,
Okay.
because that's just good. I hope he faced pain dying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I suppose then to not end on a bad note, is there anything that you felt was snubbed or anything that you would have liked to see nominated in any of the categories, even the ones we didn't discuss? Or alternatively, is there anything that you are happy to see was nominated in any other category?
I think I'm quite content in everything. If there was one thing I would have liked to see, it's Barry Keoghan in Saltburn.
Okay, yeah, interesting.
And it's only like, I don't want the Americans to look, oh, he's a murderer on the dance floor, that naked dancing guy. Did you see the Vanity Fair thing?
Yeah, that's what he's been reduced down
Yeah,
to.
he's been reduced to, oh, he's the naked guy who dances to that song at the end.
There was a whole movie before that.
Yeah, he's not that. He's the cat killer from Love Hate. He's the dog killer from Chernobyl. He's Barry Keoghan. He's the Joker. He's coming back to reprise his role as a Joker. He is one of the best things to come out of Banshees of Inisherin. I don't want him to be reduced to that gimmick of, look, I'm happy for his success. I really am delighted. And I wouldn't give him a nomination in this. I wouldn't. I don't know, maybe I guess I wanted to give him a shout out to this, because keep it lit.
Nice. I think for me, one thing I'm happy to see nominated is Godzilla -1 was nominated for visual effects.
That's your favourite movie of 2023.
It was, yeah, genuinely. It wasn't nominated for Best International Film. I maybe would have liked to see it there, but I haven't seen all of those nominees, so I can't say what I would take out.
I wonder, was Zone of Interest or Anatomy of a Fall nominated for them as well?
I think Zone of Interest was. Bear with me 2 seconds and I'll check.
I just want to also say, if animated movies can be nominated for Best Picture as well as Best Animated Feature, what's the point of Best Animated Feature?
It was introduced because they were afraid that Shrek was going to win Best Picture that year. I know that for a fact. And it did win Best Animated Feature, but because I think...
Well, then that feels like that's just reduced to, the kids Oscar category. The kiddies. The kids table gets to win a prize. When that's not the case at all.
Yeah, Zone of Interest was nominated for International Feature Film.
So why do you get to apply for both?
Don't know, because Parasite won both.
Yes, and I'm glad. But I think it just hits home more how the Oscars is just a very American thing. And Americans, it's a big country, so I don't fault them for thinking Europe is just one big clash of
it's just Europe.
Counties. Yeah, it's just Europe, yeah. Except British. They're British. And they think Irish are British. And we hold them against the ringer for that. But yeah, like when they hear someone who might be French or German or Polish, European. Yank.
Yeah, simple.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I would have liked to see nominated is The Iron Claw, which wasn't nominated for anything.
What would you cut out?
I would cut out probably American Fiction from the Best Pictures.
You know what? Fair point. I might do the same, but I can't attest to that because I've not seen American Fiction.
I thought that was fantastic, and I thought Zac Efron's performance in it honestly was great as well. I would, like if I was going full balls to the walls, I would cut out Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction and put Zac Efron in there too.
You did not have a good time with.
No, it's not that I didn't have as like American Fiction was fine. It just wasn't the movie I was expecting it to be, but I had such a good time with the Iron Claw. Like, the Iron Claw is one that, if I go back now, if we did the 2023 wrap-up now, I would have Iron Claw either at 1 or 2.
Oh, don't worry, man. I amended that for you.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. So
yeah,
on our letterbox list, it's different. Yeah, no, it's right up there. Like, I added it to a list I have, which is rewatch these, and if it's just as good the second time, change it to a 5-star. Like, a 5-star for me is, it's an all-time classic, and I love it. You know, like, even if it's not the best movie, if it's a movie that I can absolutely put on, I'll love every second of it. But if it's a movie that I think is fantastic and I will love it, I'll give it a 4.5. And just as a watch this again and just see, does it still land in that 4.5, or is it actually a movie that you'll love? So Iron Claw is one that I am excited to rewatch again to see, okay, is this actually going to be one of my all-time favorites? Because I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, every aspect of it. So I was sad to not see it nominated in any category.
I was sad not to see it in 2023. We got it this year.
Yeah, a little bit too late. But, Brian, that brings an end to our Oscars predictions.
Wrap it up, David. I gotta go to the gents.
So the Oscars are on Sunday the 10th of March. If you're in Ireland, where I think most of our viewers are, it'll be on Monday night from 12 o'clock. I think it's 11 from the Sunday night to 3 o'clock in the morning. So it'll be a late one anyway, but it's going to be on that Sunday, the 10th of March. We are going to have a bonus episode that following week where we're going to be recording some of our reactions in the moment as they happen. We'll be releasing that as a bonus episode the weekend after. So keep an eye out for that. It's probably not one that everyone will want to listen to, but it might just be interesting if you listen to this and you want to hear, here are who we thought was going to win, and here who actually won. It might be fun.
It's a now or never situation.
Exactly.
If we're going to do it, let's do it.
Exactly. So thank you very much for listening to this episode of Talking Pictures Podcast. If you have any predictions or anyone that you thought was snubbed or anything, any of your own opinions on the Oscars, we'd love to hear them. We'd love to discuss them in an episode, even just maybe at the end of an episode, just any quick fire opinions you had there. We'd love to read them out. You can send those into talkingpicturespodcast1@gmail.com. We love getting any kind of emails about topics, anything like that. Otherwise, you can follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok, on Letterboxd, on Facebook, basically any social media app. We are on there, and you can leave us a comment with your opinions, anything like that. Make sure to give us 5 stars, as we really appreciate it. It helps kind of expand our network, and it costs you nothing to give us 5 stars, and it really helps us out, so it gets us to more listeners and stuff like that. We're here every single Wednesday. We upload at 12 o'clock, so it'll be ready for you as you wake up and you're bright and bushy-tailed and you want to hear some boys talk about films. We're there for you. Brian, any final words before we wrap this episode up?
I'm going to go watch Borderlands Trader again.
It feels like a lifetime ago since we talked about that. But yeah, man, watch Borderlands Trader.
See you, David.
See you, Brian.